Today you should have started by grabbing your table tent and completing the ruler warm-up on Schoology. Today we're going to focus on measuring with a graduated cylinder. How do you measure with a graduated cylinder? We're going to use the same rule that we had with rulers. Measure what you know for sure, plus one estimated digit. Always make sure to have the unit, ml, when working with a graduated cylinder. Read the graduated cylinder while it is flat on the table, because if you're reading it while you're holding it, you may not be holding it flat, you may be tipping it, which is going to affect the accuracy of your reading. Make sure you're reading at eye level. So when it's on the table, maybe you have to bend down a little bit so that you can see your eye right at that water level line. And read from the bottom of the meniscus. Do we know what a meniscus is? So a meniscus is the bottom of the little curve here, or the bubble. So when we actually read this reading, we want to make sure we're reading from here. So even though we could see that the water is clinging to the graduated cylinder up higher, we always want to make sure we're reading from the bottom, because that's where our amount of water actually is. Okay, so we have different types of graduated cylinders. So the first one we're going to look at is a 10. So how do you measure with a 10 milliliter graduated cylinder? Okay, the first thing to know is that each of the lines you see increases by 0.2. 10 milliliter graduated cylinders should always have two numbers after the decimal point. So very similar to rulers, you're going to know that number before the decimal, and you're going to know the first number afterwards. It is that last digit that you're going to estimate. So let's take a look at this first graduated cylinder. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark off where is that meniscus. So it's going to be more at the bottom here. Here's our meniscus. All right, so again, what do we know for sure? What's the big number that we know for sure? Well, it's above the 7. So the 7 is our first big number. All right, and then we have to remember, what do each of these lines go up by? They go up by 0.2, meaning that this first one is 0.2, this next one is 0.4, then we have 0.6, and we're not quite at the 0.8. So this is where it can get a little tricky. So we know that we're in between the 0.6 and the 0.8. So that purple line where I've drawn the meniscus, is it at least halfway between the 0.6 and the 0.8? I think it is. I think it's above the halfway line. So that means, what's halfway between 0.6 and 0.8? Halfway would be 0.7. So I know for sure that I'm at 7.7. And then that last one is just an estimate. How close to that 8 line do I think I am? I think I'm pretty close. So I'm going to estimate that it's a 9. And what do we always want to have at the end? ML. So remember, our green numbers should be the same, but the red number can just be close when we are practicing these. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Next one, water's pretty flat. There really isn't a meniscus too much, right? So we're going to go with our line. Okay, so that's where we're at. So again, I got to figure out, what am I at? What's the big number I'm at? You can see I'm at 6 point. And remember, what does each line go up by? 0.2. So 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8. So I think I am at that 8. And then do I think I'm exactly on that 8 or just above? I think I'm exactly. So if you're exactly, does that mean I can just leave it 6.8? No, you still have to estimate something. So if I think it's exact, it's a 0. If you said 6.81, that's totally fine. Okay, 6.79, also okay. All right, let's take a look at the last example on this page. So again, find that meniscus. So I'm going to look for the bottom of the bubble. All right, now I got to figure out my numbers. Okay, this slightly longer line, even though it's not marked, this is actually a 3. So what big number am I past? I'm past the 3 point. How many little lines? So we got 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. All right, so again, I'm at the 0.6. Is my meniscus above halfway between the 0.6 and the 0.8? I think I'm less than halfway, so it's going to be 3.6. And then I estimate how close to halfway I think I am. I think maybe I'm right in the middle, so 3.65, and I'm going to use my unit centimeters. Again, red numbers can be totally different. Green numbers, we should be the same. All right, let's take a look at another graduated cylinder. How do you measure with a 25 milliliter graduated cylinder? So lines should go up by 0.5 ml. And a 25 milliliter graduated cylinder should have one number after the decimal point. So again, we're going to know what we know for sure, so before the decimal. Okay, and we're going to be estimating the number that comes right after that decimal. So let's take a look. Remember that we're going to read from the bottom of the meniscus. So usually the darker color. All right, so what do I know for sure? So on these graduated cylinders, we're going to see that not every number is marked. We can see it goes from 15 to 20. So we see slightly longer lines and slightly shorter lines. So the slightly longer line is a whole number. So this one would be 21. The next one would be 22. Okay. And this last line here would be 22.5. But I'm going to see that I'm not quite at it. So what do I know for sure? I know that I'm at 22 point something. So now I have to estimate how far in between I think 22 and 22.5 I am. All right. I'm going to say that I'm exactly halfway, so it's going to be 22.3, and don't forget to have your unit ml. Let's take a look at the next one. So again, we're going to find the bottom of the meniscus, and we're going to be really careful with this. So if we look really closely, okay, your bottom of the bubble is actually here. All right, so what number do I know for sure, right? So if this is 15, this next line will be 16, 17, 18, 19. This is 19.5. So how much above the 0.5 do I think I am? Maybe just a little bit. So 19 point, that's what I know for sure. Then I got to estimate how much above that 0.5 I think I am. And I thought just a little bit, so maybe a 6, 19.6 ml. Let's take a look at the last example. So again, find that meniscus. All right, so my darkest part of the bubble is right there. All right, so what do I know for sure? Well, that longest line we have here, that is 15. So I'm at 15 point, and then I'm not quite at the 0.5 line, which I know it's hard to see, but it's right here. So how far between 15.0 and 15.5 do you think you are? I think I'm kind of close, so I'm going to say 15.4. And I'm going to remember to have my unit ml. We have one more graduated cylinder to take a look at. How do you measure with a 50 milliliter graduated cylinder? All right, these lines increase by 1. So a 50 milliliter graduated cylinder should have one number after the decimal point. So we're going to have what we know for sure, and then that number right after is going to be what we're estimating. All right, so let's take a look. Again, remember to read from the meniscus. So as I look at this one's pretty flat. So I'm just going to be right there. All right, what do I know for sure? We said each line goes up by 1. So if this long one here is 10, then we're at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I know for sure I'm at 19 point something. Then I have to estimate how far between the 19 and the 20 I think I am. Well, I think I'm pretty close to the 20, right? But not right there. So I'm going to say 19.8. I'm going to remember to have a unit. So again, our green number should be the same. We definitely all should be saying 19. Okay, but our red number could be different. If you said 7, if you said 9, we'd be okay. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Read from the bottom of the meniscus. So here's the bottom of our bubble. All right, so remember, what does each line go up by? Each line goes up by 1, so 21, 22. So what do I know for sure? I know for sure it's 22. Now I need to estimate how far between the 22 and the 23 I think I am. Well, I think I'm pretty close to halfway, maybe slightly over, so I'm going to say 22.6 ml. Again, if you thought you were right at halfway, 0.5, 0.7, that's okay. Red just has to be close. All right, let's take a look at the last example we have here. Find the bottom of the meniscus. Okay, so we're down here, right? Bottom of that bubble. Okay, what do we know for sure? We have to remember what the lines go up by. So this is 50, so 51, 52. So I'm at 52 point, and what do I estimate? Well, I think I'm pretty close again, but not quite there. So I'm going to say 52.7 ml. Okay, now I have a science joke for you. What did the thermometer say to the graduated cylinder? You may have graduated, but I have many degrees. All right, so what are you going to do now? You're going to do the colorful measuring. What do you need? You need a Chromebook, you need a partner, and then you need some graduated cylinders that you can get from the teacher. Where are you going to do this? You're going to do it on Schoology. You're going to follow the instructions for the colorful measuring lab on Schoology. Okay, be careful not to get your Chromebook wet. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to be following the instructions, making sure that you are reading a graduated cylinder correctly, and at the very end, you are going to take a picture of your end result so that I can see if we were able to follow the directions and measure correctly. All right, what do you do with it afterwards? You're going to submit it on Schoology and return the materials to the teacher. Then you can work on missing work or other classwork. Remember that you have a test on Friday, so maybe you want to review the scientific method, metrics, measuring with a ruler, or measuring with a graduated cylinder. There is practice on Schoology if you'd like to use it. Have an incredible day. Review for the test on Friday for homework or other missing work.